The patient stone. The old monk settled into his usual place in the garden and closed his eyes, ready to begin his morning meditation. He focused his mind on his breath, observing the flow of his inhales and exhales. His concentration was interrupted by a loud crack that shook the earth. He opened his eyes and looked around, perplexed. There, a few feet away, lay a large stone that had split cleanly in two. He had never noticed the stone before. Curious, he stood up and examined the halves. The outside surface of the stone was rough and worn, but the freshly exposed inner surface was smoother and more brightly colored. It shone with a subtle radiance. Just then, the monk's eager young pupil came bounding into the garden. "Master! Did you see that stone crack open?" he exclaimed. "There may be a treasure inside." The monk smiled gently. "The treasure is not found within objects, but within ourselves. Return to your meditation." The pupil nodded and sat down, attempting to calm his restless mind. The monk lifted one half of the stone. It was surprisingly light. His fingers glided across the smooth inner surface. There seemed to be a pattern there, faint and intricate. He brought it closer to his face, peering into the crystalline structure. His eyes widened. There, deep within, he saw something peculiar. He shook his head and looked again. It couldn't be. There appeared to be a miniature landscape within the stone, clear as day. Puzzled, the monk carried the stone into his chamber and lit a candle so he could see more clearly. He held it under the light, examining it from multiple angles. There was no doubt about it. Inside the stone was a detailed scene featuring rolling hills, a meandering stream, and a small pagoda. As strange as it seemed, it was all there inside that little stone. Over the following days, the monk found himself drawn again and again to the mysterious stone. The more he gazed into it, the more detail he could discern. One corner of the stone depicted a tiny village, with cottages and pathways and gardens. He could make out small stones lining the paths, and delicate fronds on the pagoda roof. Another area showed a dense, miniature bamboo forest, with thin green stalks and broad leaves. It seemed impossible, but he sometimes thought the scenes even changed from one viewing to the next, as if the world inside the stone were alive. The monk began to neglect his duties, skipping meals and meditation periods to spend time peering into the stone. His pupil grew increasingly worried and finally approached him. "Master, forgive me, but you have been acting strangely. You seem obsessed with that stone you found. Is everything all right?" The monk sighed, acknowledging the truth in his pupil's words. "You are right to be concerned," he said. "This stone has awakened something in me that is not conducive to enlightenment. I have become attached to its mystery and beauty. I must rid myself of this attachment." He wrapped the stone in a cloth and placed it in a box, then handed it to his pupil. "Take this far away from here and leave it where no one is likely to find it. Its allure is too powerful for me." The pupil bowed and took the box. He threw it into an old dry well, covered the opening with brambles. The monk returned to his normal routine, embracing his daily rituals and duties once more. Years passed. One day, the now old pupil was wandering in the woods and passed by the remains of the old well. Curious, he cleared away some of the brambles to peer inside. There, at the bottom, lay the familiar old box containing the mysterious stone. His master had long since passed on. He retrieved the stone and brought it back to the monastery. Gazing into its depths, he understood at last why his master had found it so captivating. And yet, having learned patience and non-attachment from his master's example, he was able to appreciate its beauty without longing to possess it. He built a small shrine and placed the stone inside, making it available for others to view and contemplate. Under the stone, he placed a simple inscription, the wise see through illusion and are not dazzled by appearances. Freedom is found not in clinging to possessions, but in release.